Well, it's a special anniversary show today. I'm so glad you're here. It's a big one. Make sure you like and share and let everybody know because we are celebrating 1 year since Kamala Harris became the de facto coronated nominee for the Democrats. She wants to celebrate it, and so do we, because I don't know about you, but I really miss Brat Summer. So we're going to relish all of that and take an assessment of where the Democrat Party is now, 1 year after Kamala Harris' transcendent campaign. Also, we've got a follow-up from yesterday's story where we broke down all the talking points and the issues leading to Barack Obama sort of engineering the Russian collusion hoax. Democrats have a great response. I mean, it's a complete lie and a total deceitful way to try to make this go away, but it is a response, and we'll expose the lie embedded within that coming up next. And also a whole potpourri of Democrats saying outlandish, insane, just Looney Tunes thing, including, get this, Rahm Emanuel thinks men cannot become women. Whoa. All right, that's a stunner. We're going to get into all of that and a whole lot more coming up right now. We're brought to you by Birch Gold. My name's Larry O'Connor, and you can call me Larry. Make sure you like and subscribe, whatever platform you're watching on right now. And if you're listening to us after the fact on Apple or Spotify or whatever podcast vehicle, please give us a rating, give us a review. That goes a long way to helping to build our audience and building our show. And if you're addicted to the video product, which I don't blame you, just swing on over and subscribe to the audio product as well, Spotify and Apple. Really appreciate it. Thank you. The administration, Trump administration, you know those guys, they got their sleeves rolled up and they're streamlining monumental moves right now. It makes it hard for them to take care of your personal finances. That's because they're trying to fix the country. You need to focus on your own finances. And that's why tens of thousands of Americans right now are buying gold from Birch Gold. In the past 12 months, the value of gold has increased by 40%. Some central banks bolster demand for gold by buying in record quantities. And of course, we got global instability. We've got tension. All of that is a recipe for, well, looking for investments like gold. But you may be able to find peace of mind right now if you do the same. Birch Gold makes it extremely easy to convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. Just text my name, Larry, to 989898. Birch Gold's going to send you a free info kit on gold. No obligation. Just useful information. You get an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau over there with Birch Gold, and you get tens of thousands of happy customers. Text the word Larry to 989898. Do it today. Yesterday marked the 1 year anniversary of Kamala Harris being handed on a silver platter on a little velvet pillow, like a crown that one gives to a queen when she's coronated, the Democrat nomination. And, well, we've got quite a look back here to acknowledge this momentous moment in American history. And we've got an actor, an unhinged, crazy, angry liberal, Jeff Daniels, who really wants to gaslight you on what a Kamala Harris presidency might have looked like. We're going to share that with you coming up in a second. But first, to the anniversary, here she was, Kamala Harris, yesterday afternoon. Boy, talk about tone deaf. Talk about not reading the room. Kamala Harris puts out this tweet. 1 year ago today, I began my campaign for president of the United States. Her campaign was handed to her. It wasn't even her campaign. It was Biden's campaign that she inherited, including over $100 million, if I remember right. No, excuse me, like $1 billion. She got tons of money already handed to her. Over the 107 days of our race, see what she's trying to do there? We only had 107 days. Please, lady, you never had to go in the primaries. You never had to do a debate. You never had to fend off any other candidates for the nomination. Spare me your complaints about the short runway. You never even had to fundraise. Biden handed everything over to you, literally. Over the 107 days of our race, I had the opportunity and honor to travel our nation and meet with Americans who were fighting for a better future. Let me ask you something, ma'am. You had been vice president for 3.5 years prior to the moment when you were handed the nomination by your party. Why did you only then start traveling the nation and meeting Americans who were fighting for a better future? What the hell were you doing as vice president? Shouldn't you have been spending some time meeting Americans, finding out what mattered to them? This is all just gobbledygook. Today, millions of Americans continue to stand up for our values, our ideals, and our democracy. So they keep throwing democracy out there as if democracy is being threatened by Trump winning the presidency. They're still trying that crap. Their courage and resolve inspires me. Whether you're attending a protest, calling your representatives, or building community, I want to say thank you. We're in this fight together. Hey, you left out, setting cars on fire in the middle of downtown Los Angeles, ambushing ICE agents down at the border, and throwing a mouthful of lead in their face. But how about Antifa breaking windows and rioting in various places? Do you stand with them also, right? Think about who she cares about. Look at who she's communicating with. Attending a protest, calling your representatives, or building community, whatever that means. How about if you're out there working for a living and contributing to our economy and our society? How about that? How about raising a family and educating your children and teaching them values? Do you care about us? Are we part of the country at all? Nope. She only stands with you if you're attending a protest or bothering your representative in Washington. And then she gave us these pictures. Look at that. Really triumphant there at her rally. I wonder what the other side of that arena looked like. How many empty seats were there? And then there's this one. And then there's this one. And then my favorite, that one right there, because look at that guy, Tim Walz. I'm scrolling through these pictures and I'm like, hold on a minute. Like, okay, you got the candidate there. You got two crowd scenes here. And by the way, just so you know, everybody's sitting there, their cloud bubble, what they're thinking. When's Beyonce come out? I'm here for the concert. Is Megan Thee Stallion going to be here tonight? Got another crowd shot. And then this shot. I'm sorry. I've scrolled through these pictures a couple of times now. Where's the picture of Biden? Where's the picture of Joe? Where's the picture of her with her running, her partner, up until he got thrown under the tire treads? It's an interesting omission, don't you think? Also, where's the husband? I mean, sure, we got the work husband here, but not her husband. Fascinating. No mention of her husband either in that statement. Okay, that's fine. She wasn't the only one celebrating and acknowledging the anniversary of the Kamala campaign. This tweet comes from the person who ran the Kamala HQ social media accounts, Paulina Mangubat. It's been 1 year since the fastest rebrand and design sprint of my life. See, look, we had this one. Oh, we got to get a Kamala HQ. What do you think? And then here's the text messages back and forth on the logo design. Does this suck? I'm trying to make it look like one of those gossip Twitter accounts. I love the inner dialogue here of what they were trying to achieve with the social media platform support, or excuse me, the social media accounts supporting the Kamala campaign. I want it to look like a gossip Twitter account. These are serious people to govern our nation. Like, this looks really cool. IDK. Oh, Brat Green. Oh, then a germ of an idea came. Here we go. Oh, it looks so good on my burner. I'm like giddy. Thank God we dodged the bullet. Not only did we dodge the bullet of Harris and Walz being in power, but we dodged these people actually being in the White House with jobs. But they ended up with that one on top. It was all about Brat Summer. You remember? Everything was this green color. It was all Brat. Kamala is Brat. Kamala is Brat. Brat, do you remember this? And oh my God, the media loved it. They went nuts with it. They thought it was so cutting edge. It was so hip. It was really going to talk to young people on TikTok. Remember? We made fun of it on this show. Look through our archive. Go by date. You'll see it. It was right around this time back then. And they really thought that they were edgy and trendy and capturing this zeitgeist. Summer 2024. This is how we're going to win the White House. Never mind, where she stands on positions. Never mind how extreme she is. Never mind that the last time she ran for president, she made a bunch of money. She got a whole lot of attention. when she had her big opening rally in Oakland and all the media was on board with her. But then, of course, when voters got to know her, well, things sort of spiraled down the toilet. And she didn't even make it to Iowa. Yeah, never mind all of that. We're going to reinvent the wheel. We're going to try to force feed this thing to the American people and convince you all that Kamala's the new it girl. Welcome to Camelot, says New York Magazine. And look at everybody celebrating. Even old Joe is there. AOC, Chuck Schumer. There's Megan Thee Stallion. That's Barack Obama. Look at that. George Clooney, Nancy Pelosi, Beyonce, Hakeem Jeffries. They're all celebrating. And New York sub-headline, in a matter of days, the Democratic Party discovered its future was actually in the White House all along. Boy, that didn't age well, did it? Or did it? I mean, maybe Kamala Harris still is the future. I mean, if you think about it, they just spent hundreds of millions of dollars, really, after all of the political action committees and the unions and all that. We're talking billions of dollars to try to force feed Kamala Harris down the throats of the American people to tell us she was this incredible, dynamic, transformative political figure. So here we are just a year later, and they're all like, I don't know, we don't have a leader. Who's gonna be our nominee? Maybe it's gonna be Pete Buttigieg. Maybe it's gonna be Wes Moore. Maybe, I don't know, who does George Clooney like? Maybe Tim Walz. Maybe. Why aren't they all just saying, hey guys, Kamala's our leader? I mean, come on, look. Back in July, the Democratic Party discovered its future was actually in the White House all along. How is your future gone just like that? She only had 107 days after all. Shouldn't she just have the nomination by acclamation? Right? Or, I don't know, were you all just bullshitting us the entire time? Yeah, maybe you were bullshitting us the entire time. So that's how the summer began, well, or midsummer, after she took the reins 1 year ago and celebrated this exciting moment when she became the transcendent, glorified nominee without actually ever having to campaign or get a vote. But she was it, man, and you had to be on board or you were on the wrong side of history, and things were going great, and the polls were looking good, and she picked Tim Walz, and the joy was back in Washington. The joy was back in the Democrat Party. The joy was back in campaigning again. Remember joy being the buzzword that everybody in the media repeated? Joy, joy, joy. Brat Summer joy. And it was going great until something happened, something horrible, something unexpected, something they tried to avoid, but ultimately they couldn't. They couldn't avoid it at all. Eventually, she actually opened her mouth and started talking. Not pre-produced ads and videos and films and Brat Summer teaser TikTok videos. No. She actually sat and answered questions. Now, of course, every single person that they handpicked was a patsy, except for the 15-minute interview she gave to Bret Baier that was an absolute disaster. But it would be unfair to show you Kamala Harris in that setting because that was actually, difficult for her. How about this one with Stephanie Ruhle on MSNBC, where she was basically given free reign? Listen, nothing but softballs. Go ahead and speak your mind and tell us what kind of president you're going to be and focus on policies because we really want to see how smart you are and how much better you are from Donald Trump. So go ahead, speak your mind. Go ahead.
Some of the work is going to be through what we do in terms of giving benefits and assistance to state and local governments around transit dollars and looking holistically at the connection between that and housing. And looking holistically at the incentives we in the federal government can create for local and state governments to actually engage in planning in a holistic manner that includes prioritizing affordable housing.
In 25 seconds, she used holistic or holistically 3 times. Do you think there was like a side bet in the campaign? Do you think that before she went out for the interview, she pulled Tim Walz aside and said, hey, I bet you $50 I can work holistically into an answer 3 times, right? Okay, let's just do it. Let's do it. Let's goof on it. Doesn't matter. We're going to win. We got the media on our side. We got academia on our side and Lin-Manuel Miranda and even Lena Dunham. They're all on my side. I'm going to get Beyonce. I'm going to get Taylor Swift. I'm going to get everybody endorsing me. So I'm going to win. So who cares about the interview? I'm going to say holistically 3 times in 30 seconds. She's just so bad. God, I miss her. Don't you miss her? She was transcendent, all right. Well, it's funny. We're joking about how we miss her because we don't, because she's a moron. But Jeff Daniels, crazy left-wing liberal actor, he actually does miss her. In fact, he said something to Nicole Wallace in this one-on-one interview for her podcast called The Best People. I do love it when Nicole Wallace decides who's the best people. And of course, this person, Jeff Daniels, is one of the best people. And you know they're the best people because they think you're the worst people. That's how we determine who the best people are, based on their opinion of you and me. So here's Jeff Daniels waxing poetic and melancholy about what could have been, what should have been, what would have been if Kamala Harris had been president.
I still think about Kamala and how I think she would have been a good choice. I don't care what they say, because she would have done what Lincoln did. Liz Cheney would have been Secretary of State.
Team of Rivals.
Yeah, Team of Rivals. Doris Kearns Goodwin wrote the book about it. That's what Lincoln did. Surrounded himself with the people who would disagree with him, not the people who would, take a knee and go, yeah, more tariffs, sir, more. It's the madness of King George. And just the deterioration of the Republican Party. I mean, look, I'm just an actor. What do I know? But when Mitch started stacking the courts 25 years ago, I said it on your show once. They can see it coming. The new America that is diverse and treats everyone with equality and respect and dignity, kind of like Jesus did. We're ready for that. And Mitch and company could see it coming. They were going to be the minority. So they just started, and then here we are. And now you got it.
That articulate SOB. All right, this deserves a bit of a breakdown because there's a whole lot there to unpack. Want to watch it again with me? Okay, let's do it.
Still think about Kamala and how I think she would have been a good choice. I don't care what they say, because she would have done what Lincoln did.
Ripped our nation into civil war. I mean, not that Lincoln did that, but the election of Abraham Lincoln certainly brought that on. He may be right about that, actually. Get Kurt Schlichter's book. It says it all. All right.
Liz Cheney would have been Secretary of State.
Whoa.
Team of Rivals.
Yeah, Team of Rivals. Doris.
I still maintain that Nicole Wallace is drunk half the time she does her shows. Listen to her say Team of Rivals. She's slurring here. But Liz Cheney, Secretary of State. And what's that?
Secretary of State.
Team of Rivals.
Yeah, Team of Rivals. Doris Kearns Goodwin wrote the book about it.
Team of Rivals. Okay, so this whole idea of Liz Cheney as Secretary of State, which she wouldn't have been, by the way, but that's fine. The whole premise here is, she would have been like Lincoln. She would have surrounded herself with people who disagreed with her so that she could have all of these, rivals fighting over what the best policy is, right?
But Lincoln did. Surrounded himself with the people who would disagree with him.
Wait, the whole point is Liz Cheney didn't disagree with her. They were on the same page. That's the whole point. There was no disagreement there. What exactly did Liz Cheney and Kamala Harris disagree on? Based on the campaign, Liz Cheney was completely on board with everything Kamala Harris wanted to do, at least in foreign policy and national security. That's why Liz Cheney supported her. What is this fantasy that they're creating all of a sudden? And no, Liz Cheney would not have been Secretary of State.
Not the people who would, take a knee and go, yeah, more tariffs, sir, more. It's the madness of King.
Madness of King George. I don't know if you've noticed, but the economy is soaring right now, and you're actually seeing analysts and reports. Go ahead and search the headlines. You'll see that it's tariffs that are buoying the economy right now. And part of the success that we're feeling. We had a surplus in the Federal Reserve, the Federal Treasury, for the first time in a decade last month because of the tariff income. But yes, let's attack the tariffs. Absolutely. That strategy clearly isn't working. Jeff Daniels.
George. And and just the deterioration of the Republican Party. I mean, look, I'm just an actor. What do I know?
You know what? That's probably the smartest and most relevant, wisest thing he said in the entire interview. It's true. You're right. You are just an actor. What do you know? I do like the tone, though. Listen to how sad and depressed they are. This is a guy who makes millions and millions and millions of dollars play acting, memorizing lines. Half the time, they don't even have to memorize their lines when it's TV and film, and pretending to be somebody else. And at some point, Aaron Sorkin hired him and put words in his mouth to make him sound smarter than he really is. And he now thinks, and seriously, Nicole Wallace thinks, that he's one of the best people who can lecture you and tell you how you should vote, how you should think, and then lamenting when you make the wrong choice from his perspective. It gets better, though, because, of course, Nicole Wallace asked him about Trump. And here's Jeff Daniels. And just remember this, next time you make your entertainment choices and you see Jeff Daniels is cast in a movie or some sort of streaming program that they really want you to watch, just remember what he thinks of you and your choice for president.
We've lost decency. We've lost civility. We've lost respect for the rule of law. Lost it. We have normalized verbal abuse on the internet. We've normalized bullying, much as the woke generation tried to, change that. It's back. And out the window goes character, integrity. I mean, nobody has great things to say about politicians. They never have. Go back to Mark Twain. But ideally, we're supposed to elect the best of us, not the worst of us. He's everything that's wrong with not just America, but with being a human being.
Well, I mean, at least he doesn't mince words. Jeff Daniels says that we should elect the best of us, not the worst of us. And suddenly we've normalized bullying. Do you think he saw Hunter Biden's interview yesterday? I'm sorry, what? We're supposed to have decorum and respectability and decency like the Biden family? What am I missing? And bullying when it comes to politics, about not having tolerance for opposing viewpoints. Have you ever met Barack Obama? Were you not alive from 2009 through 2016 when he encouraged people to get in the face of those who disagree over, universal health care or immigration or same-sex marriage or abortion or any other issues, and to get in their face, to ruin Christmas and Thanksgiving by bringing up issues like the Affordable Care Act at the family dinner table, to threaten not to have any contact with your parents if they disagree with you over politics? That didn't come from us, pal. But yeah, no, you're right. That's the narrative they've created, and it's Trump. Trump brought all of this on, after all. Yeah. Let's bring decency back to politics. Hunter Biden, 2028. Hey, guys, I'd love for you to become a member of Town Hall VIP. Town Hall VIP. Town Hall, of course, is the company that produces this show and presents this show to you every single day. And if you like this show, that means you like Town Hall. You like townhall.com, hotair.com, redstate.com, PJ Media, Twitchy, and Bearing Arms. Great host of sites that are all part of the Town Hall family. And when you become a VIP, you get an ad-free experience. You get exclusive content only for VIP members, and you support the work that we do. So go to townhallvip.com and then use my name at checkout, Larry. You'll get 50% off when you use that code. Townhallvip.com. Use Larry for 50% off, and it'll make you eligible for what I hope to be next year's Town Hall VIP cruise. Kurt Schlichter and I are trying to get a band of pirates together, and it'll just be for Town Hall VIP members. We're going to go on a cruise, and we're going to have a blast. It's going to be me and Schlichter and Derek Hunter and the other columnists that you love, Spencer Brown and Kevin. Even Kevin will be on the cruise, and maybe we'll even do a live presentation of our show in front of the entire audience there, so you can be a part of it. If you want to do that, email me. It's LarryOC@townhall.com, LarryOC@townhall.com. Let me know if you are down for the cruise. I'll pass it on to the bosses at Town Hall. We're trying to get momentum here for that cruise. LarryOC@townhall.com. We're used to Democrats saying absolutely insane things, right? I mean, that's our business model here on this show. But Rahm Emanuel yesterday with Megyn Kelly said something that I never thought I'd hear a Democrat say. It's a stunner. It's absolutely getting headlines all around the world because Democrats just don't say this sort of thing. We're going to show it to you in a minute, but let's start over here at MSNBC. I mean, if you're looking for Democrats to say crazy things, that's a good starting point. Here's First Base, MSNBC.
I think it was David French who called the Epstein conspiracy the thinking man's QAnon. What did the dissolution of QAnon teach us about what potentially becomes the inflection point here where people walk away from this?
Well, at first maybe say not dissolution. In many ways, it's assimilated into the Republican Party. We can think about Marjorie Taylor Greene, huge QAnon supporter, now so prominent. In many ways, I think that kind of conspiratorial thinking now is in the bloodstream. Exactly. In terms of like the big moments, I do think, for example, when Trump lost in 2020, that was a big moment for them. I talked to one QAnon supporter who said she thought she was going to throw up when Biden got sworn in because suddenly it was like the walls came rushing in. But again, it's back, right? And it's lingered in many ways. And so I think something like this, the Epstein case, it's difficult for Trump to dispel it. I mean, even now, if he said, look, we're just going to open up all the files, I think people would still have a lot of questions about it.
Well, of course, people would have a lot of questions after everything we've been through and everything that we've seen. And we had the DOJ saying that it's case closed and there's nothing to see. And now they're going to open up the files. Well, what's the point of opening the files if there's nothing to see, right? I mean, you'd be a lunatic if you didn't have some sort of cynical suspicion. In fact, I thought reporters are supposed to be cynical and suspicious and not trust the government. That's odd, isn't it? But I do like this whole, conspiracy theories like QAnon and Jeffrey Epstein. That's part of the mainstream of the Republican Party. Last I checked, isn't it the Democrats who were demanding the Epstein files be released? Isn't it the Democrats who were talking about the Epstein files daily on the floor of the House of Representatives when they never mentioned it for the 4 years that Biden was president, and certainly not the 8 years that Obama was president? So if you're thinking that the Epstein story is a conspiracy theory and you're saying, wow, how wacky is that? Aren't the Democrats the ones that are demanding the Epstein files? Right along with many of the Republicans as well? Okay, pal. Things are bad for Democrats when CNN is fact-checking you. Things are bad for the Democrats when CNN has to hold your feet to the fire because even they see through your bull.
I mean, you say that what American people want is people that will stand up for them. I mean, but Democratic Party's favorability is at 28%. And you also add to that, other CNN data was nearly 6 in 10 Americans say most of the Democratic Party's members of Congress do not deserve re-election. Democrats themselves are 7 points less likely than Republicans to believe members of their own party deserve re-election. Can you win back the House with numbers like that?
We picked up seats last cycle, overperformed across the country because we had great candidates who were authentic and independent-minded, talking about the issues that matter on the ground and coming to Washington, D.C. to get things done for the American people. That's what people want. That's why we overperformed. That's why we have 14 Democrats in Trump districts. We only need 3 more seats to take back the majority. But remember, when you're on the ground, people want to make sure they have a representative who's going to stand up for them. We had great candidates. That's why we overperformed. And while we feel like we're in a very strong position right now, 35 districts across the country on our map where we have an opportunity to win, we only need 3 more to take back the majority. And the American people are with us on the issues.
The polling suggests, though, that the American people are not with you in trusting Democrats right now. There seems to be a disconnect in what in the strength you see in candidates and how the American people view their Democratic members of Congress right now.
That's just, I feel bad, kind of, for this Congresswoman, the chair of the DCCC, because you can tell even her heart's not in it. Even she knows. Oh, we overperformed, and that's why the American people are with us. As the Chiron below says, 28% of Americans view the party unfavorably or favorably. No, Really, the American people are with us. Look at her face. She's talking about half-hearted. And CNN's like, yeah, I don't think that's right. CNN. Which brings us to Rahm Emanuel. Now, Rahm Emanuel, of course, was the chief of staff for Barack Obama. He was a congressman. He was an advisor to Bill Clinton, and he was the mayor of Chicago. And he thinks he can be president of the United States. Maybe he could be. He needs to separate himself from the herd, and he may have done that yesterday on Megyn Kelly's show. Just so you know, Rahm Emanuel has a real problem with black voters in the Democratic Party. It's going to be an uphill fight for him, especially if the early primary states have heavy black vote, like South Carolina and other states that they're targeting right now. You see, because there was an officer-involved shooting of a black man in Chicago, and for over a year, Rahm Emanuel resisted any kind of criminal investigation of the cop. He backed the blue. You can't do that when you're a Democrat. Come on, dude. He also let crime and gangs fester in the south side of Chicago. Basically, he got power in Chicago, and he took care of his pals, and he ignored the black community. He ignored the black schools. He ignored crime in the black neighborhoods, and he's got issues. He's got major, major issues. But he's trying to separate himself. He's trying to show himself to be the sober, moderate Democrat. And then I got to say, in this interview, he may have taken things a little too far. He said something that, honestly, I didn't think we'd hear from a nationally recognized Democrat this entire election cycle. But he said it. He went there. Watch what he said, and then we'll break it down.
Do you believe boys should be able to play in girls' sports?
No.
Do you believe that?
Is this the round robin?
Yeah, we'll do a quick rapid fire, and then we can move past this.
Okay.
Do you believe that kids under the age of 18 should be able to be put on puberty blockers and then cross-sex hormones?
I think parents have to make that decision themselves. I think that a child is too young at 18 to make that decision. It has to be made with a family and that choice. I think before somebody makes a life decision, they have to think twice about that.
So you disagree then with the Tim Walz policy in Minnesota, where a child who doesn't get affirmed by his parents can go into Minnesota and get jurisdiction there and get the parental decision overruled?
Yeah, look, I think these are life decisions, and I'm also slightly both. I have two minds, not two minds, but two strains that influence an opinion. One, there's a life decision, and a child can't make that decision. You have to have some moral development and character and judgment and foundation for that. Two, parents have to be involved in that, and I think that's for them to make. I don't think the public should be in that space.
What if, there are some parents out there who are completely whacked in the head. There really are. They're
well,
not.
That's not
all
news, is it?
But
it's not just on. No.
No, it's not news. But to me, it's terrifying because
I left this out, but I want to repeat it. Is I have a son and two daughters, and they are physically different, and that's why when it comes to sports.
Why did all the Democrats bail off of that point? A couple came out right after the election and they said what you just said, and then they got browbeaten, and then they started to walk back.
The answers in the question. I mean, that's not ever scared me. And, I used to say this to President Clinton and President Obama. Sound is not always fury. Sometimes it's just sound. And don't assume just because somebody's screaming at you, they represent more than their own voice.
Should we be putting men in female prisons? Men claiming they're women?
No.
And all right, here's my last one for you. Can a man become a woman?
Can a man become a woman? No.
Thank you.
No.
That's so easy. Why don't more people in your party just say that?
Because I'm now going to go into a witness protection plan.
Well, he's not lying. That's true. I mean, that makes him persona non grata. He's verboten. Human Rights Campaign, HRC, these bullies in Washington, D.C. who try to push all of the DEI, LGBTQ plus stuff on corporations and force elected officials all across the country to adhere to all of these hiring practices. And, you wonder why you've got rainbows all over the place with corporations. That's HRC, Human Rights Campaign. They're going to come after him. Like with nuclear weapons, they're going to come after him. It'll be a miracle if he survives, but he's the first one. He's the first prominent Democrat. I've been waiting for this. I would have added to the list of questions. The obvious one, can a man be pregnant? They just can't answer these things. I want to break this down real fast because, unlike Gavin Newsom, who tries to equivocate and does the whole hand gestures and the, this sort of thing. And like he's, Danny Terrio on the disco dance floor circa 1981. Boy, there's a reference. Unlike Gavin Newsom, Rahm Emanuel's not hemming and hawing. He's pretty straightforward about it, except for one part of it. I want to show it to you and shed some light on it. But this is fascinating.
Do you believe boys should be able to play in girls' sports?
No.
Do you believe that?
Is this the round robin?
Yeah, we'll do a quick rapid fire, and then we can move past this.
Okay.
All right. So first of all, and I love Megyn Kelly, don't get me wrong, but I would have just clarified there and said, what about boys who are representing as girls? What about boys who identify as girls? What about trans girls? Use their language for this. Okay, it's easy enough for Rahm Emanuel to say boys should not compete in girls' sports, but you got to nail these people down. What about trans girls? What about boys who identify as girls? This is really important. All right, next.
Do you believe that kids under the age of 18 should be able to be put on puberty blockers and then cross-sex hormones?
I think parents have to make that decision themselves. I think that a child is too young at 18 to make that decision. It has to be made with a family and that choice. I think before somebody makes a life decision, they have to think twice about that.
All right. So this is where things get a little squishy. And I wish that there would have been a little bit more sort of definitively, because here's the thing. Here's the ultimate question. Is having a child on puberty blockers abusive? Is there any therapeutic reason that you can think of specifically with regard to changing a child's gender identity that makes this an appropriate therapy? Because it doesn't matter if the parent wants it or not. If it's abusive, if it's wrong, if there's no medically proper usage of these drugs on a child because the whole idea of changing a kid's sex is just wrong, evil, and not based in any science, then I don't care what the parent has to say. It shouldn't be allowed. There's a lot of things that parents, I'm sure, would love to do to their children that is not allowed because it's abusive. And that's the fundamental question here, regardless of the parents. That's one part of it. There's another part that I want to get into in a second, but let's let Megyn roll.
You disagree then with the Tim Walz policy in Minnesota, where a child who doesn't get affirmed by his parents can go into Minnesota and get jurisdiction there and get the parental decision overruled?
Yeah, look, I think these are life decisions, and I'm also slightly both. I have two minds, not two minds, but two strains that influence an opinion. One, there's a life decision, and a child can't make that decision. You have to have some moral development and character and judgment and foundation for that. Two, parents have to be involved in that, and I think that's for them to make. I don't think the public should be in that space.
What if, there are some parents out there who are completely whacked in the head. There really are. They're
well,
not.
That's not
all
news, is it?
But it's
not
it's
just on. No,
no, it's not news. But to me, it's terrifying because
I left this out, but I want to repeat it. Is I have a son and two daughters, and they are physically different, and that's why when it comes to sports.
Why did
all right, so he weaseled out of that because he pivoted on the question, and the question is very important. There are some freaked out parents out there for two reasons. One is because they're just crazy, Munchausen syndrome type, radical leftists who think that they get some sort of social media credibility by having a trans kid, and they put their kids through these things. And again, I go back to the fundamental question, which is there a scientific or therapeutic reason for these horrific procedures? And if not, I don't care what the parent has to say about it. That's abuse. And there are crazy parents who could, in fact, inflict abuse on their children through these means for their own bizarre, sick satisfaction. But then there's another set of parents that never gets acknowledged in this exchange and should be. Those are the parents who are told by school counselors and teachers and doctors, pediatricians and counselors that their child was born in the wrong body. And if those parents don't approve these radical, draconian, medieval procedures on their kids, then their kid will commit suicide. So what do you want? Do you want a dead son or a living trans daughter? That's what these parents are told. And they feel lost. And when they say to the doctor, I would like a second opinion, is there a way that we can work with our child to find some other path instead of deciding at the age of 9 that my child was, quote, born in the wrong body and try to back that up with science? It's just a lie. There's nothing scientific about that. But instead of just radically altering my child's body, pumping them full of chemicals and rendering them sterile, could we perhaps work with her or him psychologically to try to get to what the root of this might be? And maybe, just maybe, your choice of therapy, which is very radical and dangerous and permanent, maybe that's not the best path to go. And the doctor in many states, most states, I think at this point, are compelled legally to say, nope, that's the only thing I can recommend. And then in some states, if you reject that advice and say, you know what, we'll work this out on our own. I'm taking my child home and we will pray and we will work it out on our own and we'll try to figure something out. That doctor sometimes will now report you to the state. In California, they will come and they will take your child away from you for abusing them. Child Protective Services will take custody of your child because you're not affirming their gender and giving them this so-called care. That never made it into this conversation, but it needs to be said because he's going to be running in the primary against a couple of people like Gavin Newsom and Tim Walz who were just fine with that, just fine with taking children from their parents because their parents don't want to go down that path.
The Democrats bail off of that point. The couple came out right after the election and they said what you just said, and then they got browbeaten, and then they started
you got the answers in the question. I mean, that's not ever scared me. And I used to say this to President Clinton and President Obama: sound is not always fury. Sometimes it's just sound. And don't assume just because somebody's screaming at you, they represent more than their own voice.
Should we be putting men in female prisons? Men claiming they're women?
No.
And all right, here's my last one for you. Can a man become a woman?
Can a man become a woman? No.
Thank you.
No.
That's so easy. Why don't more people in your party just say that?
Because I'm now going to go into a witness protection plan.
All right, listen, I don't want to crap all over Rahm Emanuel because it's true. This is an outlier. I mean, this is a big deal. No other prominent Democrat at his stature, at his level. It's telling that he's not running for anything officially and he doesn't hold elected office. So I guess he feels free to say this, but none other will say what he just said. And it is something. I also want you to know that he is a cold, calculated assassin of a politician. He knows politics more than religion. It's what drives him. He is a shark. All right. And he knew these. I assure you, when he agreed to the interview with Megyn Kelly's, if he didn't already know it, Megyn Kelly's people probably reminded him, you're going to be challenged on this issue. So he had these answers prepared. He knew what he was doing, and he knew he was going to make news. And I kid you not, we've reached the point now with the Democrats that this is literally headline-making news. Look at the Hill. Rahm Emanuel tells Megyn Kelly a man can't become a woman. That's in America, circa 2025, with the Democratic Party, that is literally headline news. If you had gone back 20 years ago in a time capsule, in a time machine, when Rahm Emanuel was part of the American politics, I mean, I think he was a congressman 20 years ago, and showed him this headline. Hey, do you think you'll make headline news at the Hill when you tell Megyn Kelly that a man can't become a woman? They would have thought you were crazy. But that is literally headline news. Well, I mean, listen, good for Rahm. Congratulations. Welcome aboard. Let's see how this works out for you. Keep your head on a swivel. Watch your six. It ain't going to be pretty, but good for you, Rahm. Good for you. So yesterday, go back in the archive wherever you're watching our show right now. We did a full segment breaking down the Tulsi Gabbard document release that showed that Barack Obama held a White House meeting, sort of creating an intelligence community assessment on the 2016 election that completely reversed what his presidential daily briefing draft was the day before, which was the Russians did not affect the 2016 election. He actually directed his intelligence community to say the exact opposite. We broke that down for you. And we now have a new talking point from Democrats. It's a lie, but it's a talking point where they say, hey, nobody ever said the Russians hacked the election. And of course, they did. All of them did. And we've got video receipts to show those details for you coming up in just a minute. But first, here's a good example. This guy. is just a random Democrat, but a liberal, and he's representative of a ton of Democrats all over social media, pushing back on the Tulsi Gabbard video here on Fox News. And he says everything she says here is a lie. Wow, everything Tulsi Gabbard says is a lie. They do love talking in extremes, don't they? Everything is the most or the least or the worst. It's like they only talk in extremities. They only talk in these, grand statements. So everything that Tulsi Gabbard said is a lie. The declassified document only said Russia didn't hack the election. No Democrat ever said Russia hacked the election. But a bipartisan Senate report said Russia influenced the election. There was no Russia hoax. Now, we pointed out how this happened yesterday on our segment. Go ahead and watch it. That they did immediately change the language from hacked the election to influence the election, but they kept the hack thing going too. Trust me. When you see people on social media, when you see people on cable news, when your brother-in-law at the Sunday dinner this weekend, or your crazy leftist workmate in the cubicle down the hall from you with all of the wackadoodle Antifa bumper stickers pinned to their cubicle says, no one ever said that Russia hacked the election. No one ever said that Russia hacked the election. Not one person said Russia hacked the election. Literally all of them said Russia hacked the election. They're trying to rewrite history right now. Their response to this Tulsi Gabbard blockbuster and all of our focus on it, like we did yesterday, their only response is to lie to you, to gaslight you, to try to rewrite history. But it's like they don't know that the internet exists. We have the receipts. You'll see them in a second. First, to Julie Kelly. Julie Kelly recognized this and picked up on this spin. She says in this thread, latest spin against Tulsi Gabbard's release is actually no one said the Russians hacked election systems and changed votes. But that's exactly what everyone from President Obama down, including the media, intimated. So did Brennan's intelligence community assessment, regardless of how he wants to worm out of it. Further, another reason why this December 8th presidential daily briefing was pulled is because Trump, as president-elect, would have received it. So again, this is what the presidential daily briefing said. We assess foreign adversaries do not use cyber attacks on the election infrastructure to alter U.S. presidential election outcome. In other words, Russia did not hack the election. But understand, following the December 9th in the White House, after the president's daily briefing was pulled and the conspirators plotted their next move, James Clapper's office produced this outline per the president's request on election interference. Top item, hacking. Another item, cyber. So you got cyber activity. Number one, though, how did Moscow seek to influence the U.S. presidential election in 2016? What tools did they use? Number one, hacking. Number two, leaks. Number three, cyber activity against voting system. All right. So that's top line right there. Julie Kelly continues, direct from the ICA, that's the International Community's Assessment. Note the sleight of hand. And why would this only be attributed to DHS? Why not stronger statement given the IC's conclusion the previous month? This left the door open for Obama, his toadies, and the media to beat the drum about Russian hacking. DHS assesses that the types of systems Russian actors targeted or compromised were not involved in vote tallying. But the top line of that bullet item is Russian cyber intrusions into state and local electoral boards. So they intruded into the state and local electoral boards, but they didn't actually hack the machines or change the voting outcome, right? But when you're looking through this assessment, what pops out at you? October 2016 bulletin by Johnson and Clapper, very slick, always a low-key caveat amid the incessant hyperventilating on cyber attacks. Did they mean election security is threatened by some rando Facebook posts? Here we go. Headline, joint statement from the Department of Homeland Security and the Office of Director of National Intelligence on Election Security. And then right here, these thefts and disclosures are intended to interfere with the U.S. election process. That's very deliberate language. Russia is interfering through cyber attacks, and it's intended to interfere with the U.S. election process. You see all of that, and of course, it gets translated or shorthanded into the Russians hacked the election. But everyone today is saying, oh, no. No one ever said Russia hacked the election. Oh, really? Julie Kelly. Has the search term activity on hacked the election, November 1st, 2016, the day before Election Day, through March 1st, 2017. So for the 5 months from Election Day on, look at the interest over time in thousands on the term hacked the election. Hacked the election. United States 2004 through present. So check out the terms hacked the election starting in 2004. When did everybody look into hacked the election? From November 2016 through the end of 2017. Hacked the election. That was the message they embedded. Nobody said that the Russians hacked the election. Oh, really? Molly Hemingway. Critics of Gabbard's info release say the Russian collusion hoax never included claims Russia literally hacked the election. It most certainly did. And as late as 2018, 66% of Democrats believed the Russians had literally changed vote totals. This is from an Economist poll. Look at the difference. Democrats on the right, Republicans on the left. Russia tampered with vote tallies in order to get Donald Trump elected president. That doesn't happen by accident. Democrats believed that Russia hacked the elections. Democrats believe, by a margin of 66 to 33%, that Russia actually used cyber attacks to alter the outcome of the election voting machines in the 2016 election. They believed that. How did they believe that? Why did they believe that? How could that possibly be true, considering the fact that nobody ever said Russians hacked the election? Because that's what they're saying now, right? Nobody ever said Russians hacked the election. Except, of course, everyone who said Russians hacked the election.
Russia hacking the election to elect Trump is the end of our democracy. Votes were definitely affected. Russia hacked the election to tilt it to Mr. Trump.
The Russians definitively hacked the election.
Russia did hack the election.
No doubt. The Russians hacked the election.
Yes, Russia hacked the election.
Fact, Russia hacked the election.
President-elect Donald Trump still not sounding convinced that Russia hacked the election.
The president does not want to come to terms with the fact that the Russians hacked the election.
President Trump says he still wonders if the Russians hacked the election.
If you can get him to accept that Russia hacked the election, see if you can get him to accept who won the Civil War.
If he admits it, it casts a shadow on his victory over Hillary Clinton.
Russia hacked the election.
Russia hacked the election.
Russia hacked the election.
Russia hacked the election.
Let's be clear, Russia hacked the election.
Definitively, Russia hacked the election, and Russia is doing it again now.
Election-related cyber hacking.
Cyber hacking of U.S. elections.
Cyber hacking of the election.
Russia was cyber hacking the election.
Russia was cyber hacking the election.
The CIA, the FBI, NSA.
All of these intelligence organizations.
17 intelligence agencies.
All conclude that Russia hacked the election.
If we find out that Donald Trump just theoretically was colluding with Russia while they were hacking the election, that is completely impeachable.
This dossier alleged a conspiracy between the Trump campaign and the Russian effort to hack the election.
The director of national intelligence, the head of the National Security Agency, the head of the FBI, all of these intelligence experts saying Russia hacked the election.
The FBI, the CIA, the NSA, the former director of national intelligence, James Clapper, I mean, they've all said this. So to believe that that's wrong, you have to believe they're all involved in an elaborate conspiracy to get Donald Trump.
All right. That is, by the way, God, I love a good media montage. And that is exquisite. Well done, our friends over at Newsbusters Media Research Center. Just absolute chef's kiss. Perfect. Beautiful. Couple things as you see that. And that's just a taste of what the American people were fed via the media and via Democrats and via anonymous leaks, illegal leaks from the intelligence community based on lies, fake, fraudulent lies. But that's just a taste of what the American people heard and saw on a regular basis. And it's no wonder then, it's no wonder that 66% of Democrats believed that Russia tampered with vote tallies in order to get Donald Trump elected president. It's no wonder that Google searches on the term hacked the election or references to the term hacked the election spiked to such an extraordinary level in that year and a half after Election Day, during the Mueller probe, during the Comey firing, during all of it. It was all meant to serve to undermine the legitimacy of the Trump presidency, that he wasn't a legitimate president, that he was placed there. Russia did it. He was Russia's stooge. He was Russia's puppet. And anyone who denied that, well, you're probably in on it too. But I got to say, that last part, and maybe you picked up on it, let's just watch it one more time. Chris Cillizza, CNN, back when he was still working for CNN, he actually said something rather important, rather prescient, rather insightful. And I never say that about Chris Cillizza. Chris, say it again.
The election.
The FBI, the CIA, the NSA, the former director of national intelligence, James Clapper, I mean, they've all said this. So to believe that that's wrong, you have to believe they're all involved in an elaborate conspiracy to get Donald Trump, which seems a little far-fetched to me.
Yeah, a little far-fetched to Chris Cillizza. It's true, though. That's absolutely right. James Comey, James Clapper, John Brennan, President Obama, Vice President Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, the entire apparatus of the intelligence community, they all said that Russia hacked the election. So if you don't believe them, then you have to believe that they were all involved in some kind of elaborate conspiracy against Donald Trump. Well, no wonder they've decided that the best path right now is to say, actually, nobody ever said the Russians hacked the election. And as you just saw, literally everybody said the Russians hacked the election. But they are counting on you not being informed. They're counting on you not watching this. They're counting on you to be stupid because they think you're stupid. They always have, and they always will, when they don't think you're racist or misogynist or xenophobic or, well, we'll just fill in the blanks. But you're better than that. You are informed. You're right here, right where you belong. And you're not going to fall for their crap. Never again. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate it. That was a fun show. Zipped right through it. In fact, do we have any super chats to acknowledge? Angela with a $5 super chat. Almost 80 million of us law-abiding Americans voted for one of the best of us, Donald John Trump. You know, one of the two best presidents in my life. Thank you, Angela. Yeah, you know what? I realized there was another part of that. Jeff Daniels. I realized it halfway through the next segment, and you can't go back. But I wanted to address that whole issue of, you know, this is what Jesus would do. I'm sorry, Kevin. Why didn't you, you should jump in if you know that I've missed something.
I will next time.
Please do, because we talked about it before the show. Richard Murray with $9.99. That my Herman Cain super chat. Thank you. Maybe Rahm Emanuel will be the permission structure Democrats need to break free from all the crazy. It's possible. It's possible that he's out there sort of taking the flack first so that others can follow. You know, he's got his machete and he's cutting through all the bamboo in the jungle and getting hit by poison darts so that other people can walk in his footsteps. We'll see. We'll see. Either that or he's going to just come crashing down and the entire weight of the, because you have to understand the whole HRC world and the huge activists and the LGBTQIA plus whatever spirit animal world there. That's where the money is right now for the Democrats. That's where the funding is. And if you want to run for president, you can't piss those people off. But we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be amazing to watch. I just love that it made headline news. Rahm Emanuel thinks a man can't become a woman. News at 11. Thanks, Richard. Appreciate it. And another $2 super chat. Wow, a Democrat with a modicum of common sense. Yeah, don't be fooled by Rahm Emanuel. I don't even know if he believes that. Rahm Emanuel believes in one thing, and that is winning a political fight. And Rahm Emanuel, if he decided that he had to change his position tomorrow to win a political fight, he will do it. I don't believe that. I don't think he has any core values or ideas other than winning, other than power in defeating his opponents. And he's decided this is his lane. So, but we'll see. Oh, and another $5 super chat from Angela. Thank you for your generosity today. Unlike Bozo Joe, we have full control of our mental acuity and know how to use the internet. We are not clueless libs who believe lamestream media. Amen. That's why you're here, Angela. Thank you for that. That's a vote of confidence. appreciate it. All right. We are all set. Thank you so much for watching today. I appreciate it. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Angela. Thank you for that $2 super chat. Thank you, Larry, for always bringing the truth. I'll tell you what, I bring the facts. I will never pretend to bring the truth. I can bring you facts. This is what will bring you the truth. Thanks, Angela. Oh, and a two-pound super chat. They keep coming. Thank you, Psychological Projectionist. Next up, nobody ever said a man can be pregnant. That's right. Oh, we got to get the montage ready now. No one ever said that. Nobody ever said a man can be pregnant. That's ridiculous. Nobody ever said that. Well done, sir. Well done. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back same time tomorrow. In the meantime, my name's Larry O'Connor. Please, you can call me Larry.